Oh, damn it. Recording. There we
Hmm.
go. And if you want, you can mute and unmute if you want to talk, depending on your background noise and stuff. I can't, and if I to warn everybody, I've got kind of a small house, and we have a litter of 6-week-old puppies, and it's snowing outside, so it's way too cold for these busy little devils to be outside, and they're off in the
Been
living
there.
room. But if they start playing or making noise, they can be really noisy, and they're not well trained to be quiet yet. They're 6 weeks old. So, um, thank you for joining today. I'm glad it worked. I tried to pull it together really quick, but um, I like to talk to folks for a little bit before um, we actually have the first class. With dogs, and we'll bring dogs Thursday night at 6:30, and I'll go over quick what you should be bringing with you. Um, Certainly, I think it's important to take a look at your chosen breed of dog, what you've chosen to live with, or mixes of dogs. We have a couple of lovely mixes in class because all dogs have certain instincts and ways they react and things they like to do. For instance, retrievers love to retrieve. They like to chase stuff and bring it to you, and they can get obnoxious about that. Herding dogs. I know Julia has been my friend for a lot of years, and we both had collies, or Julie's got a border collie. So she got an even more obsessive compulsive chaser. Um, People will say that their retriever will never quit, it won't leave them alone. People with herding dogs say, they're chasing everything. Um, you know, Will, you've got a pit bull Catahoula leopard dog.
Yep.
Catahoulas, yep, that'll be interesting to see. And I have met many really darling pit bulls. Um, and Catahoulas are kind of unusual. You don't see them a lot. They're kind of houndy, but they learn really readily. I've had some really impressive Catahoulas in class. I know Chuck has a golden, and Bonnie has the pointer Akbosh dog. So you got quite a combination too. Um, I think it's good to take a look at what they were bred to do, because it can kind of give you an idea. Is that golden retriever playing fetch or tug? Um, but when we train our dogs, we're going to train based upon the fact that they are a dog. All dogs have similar instincts, ways they learn. They have different outlooks on life and different things that their genetics or DNA tells them to do, but they train in a similar way. Um, I think that it is really important to consider crate training your dogs. I am just a massive fan of kennel training or crate training dogs. Um, every once in a while, someone will say, uh, "I don't, I don't want to put my dog in a cage. I don't believe in that," and on and on. I would always point out that they're not respecting their dog for the animal that they are, and dogs are cave animals. Being an animal that really enjoys having a nice, safe cave of their own is really psychologically wonderful for dogs.
That makes a lot of sense.
I What's that?
Oh, no, I
Oh,
think that made a lot of sense because
yeah.
something that my dog does on a common basis.
Yeah, they even in the wild, dogs live in a cave. I mean, they have a cave. That is their safe place. They go out and run around, and they put on a lot of miles, but they will go back to their cave to stay safe and secure. People that don't want to use a crate, and I haven't heard that from any of you guys, and you bring it up if you don't, but in fact, our neighbor, we live out in the country, and our neighbor has a big ranch right across the street. He's got 1,000 acres. There's some big bluffs out there, and he was kind of laughing about somebody crate training their dog. Um, I did ask him if he'd been in my house, because crates are often used as furniture. I've got a crate by the computer that dogs can get. There's a puppy in there right now that will be a demo dog probably. Um, And he, you know, he's kind of laughing it off. And I told him that, and he said, you know, when you're out checking cattle and, babies, you know, during calving season or whenever you're out checking cattle, the coyotes, if you see coyotes, they're always running out from some cave or egress into the bluffs. He said that's obviously where they live and where they hang out. They like their caves. We can use that to our advantage. Certainly anything can be used, you know, anything could be an instrument of torture. Certainly, you know, I mean, you hear horror stories of people that have just put their dogs in a crate and leave them there for 24 hours. That is cruel. They need to get in and out. They have to go potty. But you can prevent puppies or young dogs from destroying your house, eating your life. You know, they eat furniture, shoes, socks, clothing. And not only do they destroy your stuff when they can't be watched, but they can swallow things that can kill them. They should not be swallowing hunks of carpet and pieces of shoes. They can get stuck in their stomach and cause, you know, thousands of dollars worth of surgeries, or they'll die. It is very important to keep things out of their mouths. Plus, they feel a lot safer. You know, people say, well, I leave them in a bathroom, or I have a mud room. I've heard of dogs that start chewing on the walls or eating a door, or, you know, I mean, can get into cords. They can get into so many things. A crate is really their nice, safe place. Puppies, and some of you guys have younger dogs or puppies. Is anybody struggling with potty training, just with house training? Everybody's doing pretty well there. What's that, William?
No, he's perfect when it comes to house training.
Good. He doesn't pee in the house or poop in the house. Good. Crate training, they don't want to eliminate where they have to sleep. So most dogs will keep themselves very clean when they're confined to a crate. And then, of course, we watch them and get them out a lot when they're little, and pretty soon they just learn to go outside. I use a crate. Are you struggling, Bonnie, with some potty training?
Did you ask me?
Oh. Yeah, you just said okay.
I have a dog door, okay? But if it's locked, like they've been going outside and, you know, barking at coyotes and stuff, so I closed him in. Like, so he had an accident last night. I mean, he doesn't pee in the house, but he pooped. So he's not totally trained.
How old is he?
He is 6 months now.
Okay.
He's mostly good.
I would crate him whenever you can't be watching him, whenever you go to bed at night. I would put him in a crate. I would not give him freedom to be in and out of the house. I wouldn't even give a dog that age freedom in the yard, because they can eat stuff. They can, you know, I mean, I've heard of big dogs, and there's a big dog chewing off siding off the house and swallowing it due to boredom. You know, it's my advice, you can take it or leave it, but I would not, you know, I wouldn't go to sleep at night with a puppy that can get in and out of the house. They can hold it for 8 hours. They can absolutely hold it for 8 hours. I do not leave any dog loose in my house unsupervised until they are at least 2 years old. That's always been our house rules. They go through several chewing periods, you know, young puppies. Often, well, we get little puppies and we expect them to chew on stuff. You know, you get an 8 or 10-week-old puppy and you just expect everything to go in his mouth. They will pretty much continue chewing through 4, 5, 6 months of age. They are teething at that point. By 6 months, they're done teething pretty much. Some dogs, and these are just generalities, but some dogs at around 6 months will be better about, or more selective about what they chew. Not all of them. Many, it's just one, and I've had some of each, but many, it's just one giant, massive chewing period from birth to 2 or 3. I've had some dogs that you wonder if they're ever going to stop and learn to go for their own toys and bones and such. Often there are a lot of dogs are pretty good at around 6 months. They will hit, if they will hit another massive chewing period around 8 months, 8 to 9 months. We used to guess perhaps that they're setting their adult teeth in their mouth. It almost seems like an obsessive puppy type need to chew on everything. And they, you know, they're not mentally mature enough to handle a lot of freedom yet. Often that will go away with many dogs around a year. More dogs end up in trouble when they are a year old, between 12 and 24 months, than any other age of dog.
Hmm.
I always tell people, if you, and I have not walked through the Humane Society in probably a few years, but if you walk through the Humane Society today, and I've not been there, with an eye for how old the dogs are, typically the average dog, probably 80 or 90% of the dogs sitting in the Humane Society are going to be between 12 and 24 months.
Mhm.
And I think, I mean, people don't bring their dog in and say, he's just eaten his third couch and all my shoes, because I think everybody hopes that they will find a home and nobody's going to adopt a dog that has been destroying your house. So they come up with all kinds of excuses. But my guess would be that they hit that age. People think they are grown up because they're about as tall as they're going to get. And all of a sudden, they can be good for several months, even, 12, 13, 14 months. They can be pretty good. And then suddenly they'll hit this massive chewing period. People will go to work, go to bed, go to the store, go to a movie, come home and find that the dog has eaten the couch or every shoe in the bedroom, or they can get into a lot of trouble at that age. And they're big and powerful. We have a lot of big, powerful dogs in this class. They're all good-sized dogs. So I am just I'm big on recommending using a crate until they're 2, when you cannot watch them, when your eyes are not opening on them. As they get to be, I have a 4-month-old puppy, and he has a little bit of freedom. He's with me. He follows me from room to room. Because I tell him to. I don't just leave him sitting in the living room while I go in the bedroom for something. I bring him with me. But as far as potty training, he's good. He's learned about toys, but he's still extremely capable of eating anything he puts his mouth on. Dogs are learning about their world at all times. If they are young, if they're babies and they have the opportunity to learn to chew on, the couch, your shoes, clothes, carpet, whatever they're chewing on, they can chew all kinds of things. They're literally learning that when you're not around to see them, they can do that. It's their option. They get to do that. They learn. Dogs are not stupid. They're very intelligent. And so I want my dogs to absolutely learn. They're sitting nice and calmly in a crate when I'm not home. When I get home, I say, "What a good dog you've been." My house is always the same way it was when I left. And and they are just not learning about eliminating on the floor when they shouldn't, or chewing on things that they shouldn't. I am always there to help them. It's like a little kid. They need your supervision, and they need help learning how they should handle their world. Because in the wild, they just chew anything that came across their path that was chewable. They don't understand, or pee and poop wherever they want. They would not eliminate in their cave. Even wild animals, canines, don't eliminate in their cave. They keep that very clean. So with the young dog, we give them their cave to keep clean, and gradually they learn the whole house is like their cave. Does that make sense? And dogs love their crates. They are, as someone I've shown dogs. We just finished our 85th homebred champion. We have shown dogs for a lot of years, and I have some of the top performance dogs. We expect these dogs to stroll into a building with 3,000 dogs and loudspeakers and blowers and bait and everything going on, like they were walking into the living room. We would never have that kind of sane, calm, confident animal if they were not crate trained. It is so good for them psychologically to, it's so natural for them. It's just a natural way of raising your dog, and it saves your house. And your carpet and everything else they may do. And I mentioned chewing, Bonnie, but the same thing applies to eliminating inappropriately, etc. At 6 months, he's going to hit other chewing periods. You're going to find out. I had one who at 8 months, she developed a fetish for plastic. Anything. I went through more buckets, more water buckets, and scrub buckets, because that dog would just suddenly chew up plastic. You blink your eyes, and she was 6, 7, 8 months old. She's 5 now. She doesn't do that anymore. So really consider that. Um, I've got these notes too, and this is all typed up. I tell people, sometimes people say, well, I started with a crate and I got rid of it. I never get rid of crates entirely. That the adult dogs love their crates. I have to drag dogs out of crates. I have adult dogs that sleep on a dog bed. They can be loose. They're wonderful and well trained, and they haven't chewed anything since they were young. But a lot of people don't think of this. We live in an area without a lot of natural disasters. However, a few years ago, we had the big fires twice, 2 years in a row, just about, where people were evacuated and moved, and the fires were raging. I have a lot of friends in those areas that said, they called and said, you got 10 or 20 minutes, whatever it was, to get out. We're evacuating. You got to leave. And so many people, you're panicking. The fire is coming towards your house. You got to get family and kids and pets, and people would be grabbing what they could. And dogs feel, they feel your fear. They understand that, you're behaving really differently, and it's kind of crazy and whatever it is. So many dogs at some point bolted out the door, and they're running down the street, and the people, they won't let them stay to find their dog that just ran off because it's scared. I always say we have a crate and a vehicle that will hold every dog we own. We have 8 dogs. We don't have a huge number of dogs. And if there were an emergency, our dogs would go into a vehicle first in a secure crate, and then we would get our dogs are like our family. They're our kids. That we would get them first, and then whatever inanimate objects we wanted to try to grab before we had to leave. It is easier to stay in a hotel. It's easier to stay with friends. It's easier to stay with family if your dog is crate trained and comfortable in a crate. If you ever have to leave or evacuate or move or something's going on, if I had to go stay with family or friends, what if their dogs don't like my dogs? My dogs will sleep where I tell them to sleep. Generally, their crate goes there first. I can put them in a garage, in a basement, in the bedroom, wherever, someone kind enough to take us in wanted the dogs to be. That's where they would be. You can manage dogs a whole lot. Shelters are a lot happier to take you. Hotels are a lot happier to take you if you have crate trained dogs. So there are a lot of benefits to getting a crate, using a crate, and keeping them used to that. Dogs are extremely social animals. They are pack animals by instinct. I think it is very important. And again, I haven't heard this from you guys, but every once in a while I talk to someone that's got a dog that's just living outside. They either the dog has gotten so bad that they don't want the dog in the house anymore. I've heard students say, well, I tried to let him in, last month, and he came in and tore up the house and pooped on the floor and knocked over grandma, and so he's back outside. Of course, that's a couple of things. That is a couple of things going on. The dog is lonesome. They're pack animals. They need to be around something, people, other dogs, something to be mentally sane. And they have no training. I mean, they're not going to learn how to be in your house and how you expect them to behave if they're, just shut out of your world and out in the yard. So, let them be with you, let them be part of your life. I am, by the way, a big fan of putting the crate for young dogs in my bedroom next to my bed. Chuck, you can see me okay? My computer is just reminding me of emails, and I think it said, you're okay now, right?
Oh yeah,
Oh, good, okay.
I'm doing fine. I've just this is Shiloh's playtime.
Yeah.
So
Shiloh.
we're playing.
So, let your dogs be with you. I put the crate in my bedroom next to my bed. I think a lot of bonding takes place. They can smell you and hear you, but they can't get into trouble. When we have busy lives and we work, when, we go, we run errands, we do all kinds of things. That is 8 solid hours they can be with us without, eating our bedroom and destroying the house and doing things like that. So let them live with you. You guys, I'm assuming your dogs are all house dogs and with you and in your house, correct? Good, good. Dogs are dominance-oriented animals. I think that the idea of dominance has been perhaps one of the most misunderstood, maybe abused ideas in animal training, from horses to elephants to dogs. Although I think it's probably hard to get too harsh and hard on an elephant or a dolphin or something like that. They developed a lot of positive training methods with dolphins, and we've applied that understanding or that knowledge to dogs and horses and all kinds of things that we work with. But I think that, 30, 40 years ago, maybe beyond, and there are still some that believe this way, that dogs are, that to be the leader, to have a dog believe you are dominant or the leader, that they had to be kind of harsh and demanding and maybe even a little scary to the dog. And we've really learned that that is not at all true. Dogs, if you ever watch, they've done a lot of studies with wolves and pack behavior and looked at dogs in that way. Dogs are a lot different from wolves now, domestic dogs. Domesticity has really done a lot of wonderful things to dogs. But this is true of wolves and dogs. Leaders in a group of these canines are very calm creatures. They're confident, they're calm, they are not even, they're not alarmist, they're not nervous. They deal with the pack with body language, with a look. The other animals all respect them. If another animal or another, wolf or dog tries to challenge that dominant dog, they will react and they will end it, but they don't go around starting fights. Dominant dogs and dominant wolves do not go running around going out of their way to start trouble. They keep peace. They are really peacekeepers. They will defend their station in life and they will defend their pack with their lives, but they're very calm and confident. We can emulate that, not by being harsh and loud and pushing them around, but by being calm and confident. We humans are so good at we babble at our dogs, we talk too much. They don't understand words. They are nonverbal creatures. They read body language. I always say, bless their little hearts. They learn language. They learn English very readily. We don't spend nearly enough time learning dog language and what they need. We want to equate them with humans far too much. When we say something, I often see students with, say, a hyperactive dog, but this could apply to hyperactive, aggressive, fearful, you name it, any kind of real dog problem or what we perceive as being a problem. And the handler or the owner of the dog starts talking a lot. They're like, hey, cut it out, do this, blah, 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 blah. They're babbling, they're talking fast, and the dog is just spinning wildly out of control. You are much more effective if you take a deep breath and say, hey, sit, help them sit. Put your hands on, help them sit. Sit calmly, help it to happen. Say, good dog, very nice. Nice and calm. You look like a much better leader if you say things calmly, firmly, and clearly. Your dog will understand or try to understand, will be able to try to understand a lot better. They don't understand our babbling. They don't understand pleading. They don't understand anger and yelling. They really, those are concepts that dogs don't get very well. There are some things, so nice and calm, nice and steady with your dog. If you find you're getting worked up, I have a student now in a more advanced class, and she's a pretty experienced dog person. She has a dog that she's struggling with, and this dog starts spinning a little out of control. It's going to be a show dog. And she starts just talking fast and petting it fast and moving her hands. And I keep telling her, you've got to stop. Just stop. Just take a breath. Take the dog by the collar. It's a real high energy, a little bit hyper dog, but you're a lot better off staying calm. You stay calm. that will calm the dog. Think things out one thing at a time. They don't understand English. They don't understand, they don't understand anger in that. I think dogs learn pretty readily if we yell at them, if we get after them, that we're to be avoided when we're behaving that way. We're a little scary. But I don't think they really consider it a correction for any specific behavior, because dogs live in, they think in black and white, they learn in black and white, they live in the moment. And if we're carrying on and being angry, it goes on far too long. If you're, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but if I'm going to give a negative, the negative A needs to be sufficiently negative to stop the behavior I'm looking at, but it needs to be done quickly. So, if my dog is, say I have a puppy, well, he's in a crate right now because he's safe and I'm not looking at him. But, if he goes and grabs a shoe, I would probably just go, hey. And if he's startled, I'd say, good boy, let's go find your toys. Come on. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to grab at him. I'm not going to hit him. I'm just going to do something to make him drop whatever he's got and go find something that is appropriate. That is a good learning experience. Does that make sense? And that's being a good leader. Calm, confident, say it like you mean it, make it happen, and then move on with your life, because they learn a lot better that way. There are some things we can do that I think are really important in living with a dog that will cause your dog to believe you are their leader, just by living in this way. Crating, confining the dog. I am the great giver of your freedom. They love their crates. I mean, I open a crate and they hop right in. I'll throw a cookie in and they'll hop right in. But, I put you in, I put you out. I absolutely control their food. I always control their food. I never leave food sitting out for a dog. If they, dogs are not nibblers by nature. That is not a healthy eating habit for them, to just leave food sitting around for them. It's not how their bodies work, their stomachs, they're much more prone to some other problems if they're allowed to just pick at food, not the least of which can be weight problems. They can overeat, they can undereat, there are a lot of problems. Psychologically, you give up so much power with your dog if you just let him have at his food and do what he wants with his food. I want my dog to understand every day, morning and evening, I feed twice a day, that I am the great giver and taker of food. All animals in our household, dogs live so closely with us, but even, horses, cows, probably. I've been a horse person. I've never owned cows, but, been around them. They all have some concern, they're living in our field, they're living in our house, and they are, in the wild, they would go looking for food. Food is important to an animal. They don't understand, we're living with a carnivorous pack living predator. They don't understand that we go to work and get a paycheck and go to the store and write a check or use a credit card to buy a bag of nice dog food that was, made in Kansas and brought here on a semi truck and unloaded at Petco, and now we're marching in to buy it. Your dog has no concept of those things. I want my dogs to understand every day that twice a day, like clockwork. Oh, in the wild, I think there's another good point in this conversation. In the wild, if you ever watch a video of a pack of wolves hunting, leaders are instrumental in the pack identifying and killing something for the pack to eat. Leaders always eat first in the pack, within the pack. The most powerful animals eat first, and then they will eat in descending order of their importance within the pack. It probably is, at least somewhat, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing, where the term survival of the fittest comes from. Because the leaders have got to be the most fit. They have got to be the strongest. They've got to have the best food to stay that way, or the whole pack's going to die. If they don't have good leaders, they're all going to die. And I really think, to some extent, our dogs still have that instinct or that thought process. So our dogs, if we just leave food sitting around for them to nibble at, think of all the power that gives them. I control their food. I dish up half in the morning and half at night of what they should eat, and I make them do something to earn it. They need to, do a trick, sit down, stand, speak, shake hands. They have to do something to earn their meal. I will put it down. I say free or okay or eat, pick a word and stick with it, right? If you're teaching a word, pick a word and use that same word every single time to mean the same thing. My release word is free. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're talking about starting stay with our dogs. And I count to 2. I put their food down. I say 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. If their nose is not in the bowl with their mouth moving, I immediately pick it up and put it up till the next feeding time. 12 hours from now, we will see if you're hungry again. If they leave their food, if they're eating, if my dogs are eating and someone knocks on the door and they left their bowl of food to go see who's at the door, their food would be gone. What they left sitting there would be gone. And that amount would probably be their next meal. If they leave a quarter of a cup, and I have, reasonably big dogs, they leave a quarter of a cup of their bowl, that's what they're going to get for their next meal. By the third meal, they're going to be pretty hungry. They're going to be eating. It's a much healthier eating habit for dogs, but psychologically, they will think you are the most powerful leader on the face of the earth. I always say on our apparently clumsy 2 legs and dull teeth, without any help from the 4-legged fast ones with big jaws and fast and sharp teeth, without any help from them, twice a day, we single-handedly hunt something down, chop it up in little pieces and serve it in shiny silver bowls twice a day. Our pack never goes hungry. Never goes hungry. So, right? Think of the thought process on the dog or just the psychological thing that's going on. All they have to do to get their meal is do a parlor trick, sit, shake hands. I have a few dogs that are competing in obedience, and I always make them do a little bit of work before I feed them. I'll feed them one at a time. It doesn't take long for them to eat. It takes me a long time to feed all the dogs sometimes because I have 5 or 6 that I'm working on various things in competitive events. But I always make them do something. I will tell you guys, during class and as you get more and more skills to work on, that a great time to train your dog is right before breakfast or right before dinner. Put a leash on them. If you've got multiple dogs, I had multiple dogs, 1 dog at a time. Put the other one in a bedroom or crate or somewhere outside, work 1 dog and then feed the dog. I tell people, always let them see you eat something first. Eat your dinner before you feed the dog dinner. Eat your breakfast. Sometimes folks say I'm not a big breakfast eater. Have a cup of coffee or eat a banana. It's good for you. And then feed the dog. Because again, psychologically, I'm the leader. I eat first. And then you get to eat. Then you need to do something for me and then you eat. That will cause you. Everybody I've talked to with dogs that are causing a lot of trouble, a lot of things are really a lack of respect issues. A lot of things we don't like that dogs are doing are to one extent or another. And dogs are very picture oriented. They can do some things in one situation and not in another. People always say, well, he's great at home, but when he's out walking around the neighborhood, he barks or he does this or that. They're very situational. But if you're at a situation, the dog is losing control or you're losing control of the dog, in that situation, he does not believe you are the leader right now. So controlling their food, making them work to earn it, even, 2 minutes, making him do a couple things, and then feeding your dog and insisting that he eats what you give him right now, or it goes away. As far as they know, you take it and eat it. You're not going to eat it, it's gone. It's just gone. Unemotionally. I don't ask them twice. I don't say, aren't you hungry? I don't say anything. I just say, guess you're not hungry. Boom, it's gone. Gone. All right. It is powerful, you guys. Every time I've got big problems with a student and a dog, 90% of the time they are leaving a bowl of food sitting out for the dog. 90% of the time. There are people who leave food out for dogs to nibble at who don't necessarily consider their dog to be a problem. However, I would be willing to bet that those rare people would never have the kind of attention and respect from their dogs that I get from mine. People say in class all the time, oh my God, your dogs just sit there and look at you all the time. It's because they think I'm a great leader. They don't know I'm a lot of fun. They need to do what I tell them to do. And, you know, sometimes I whip out a toy and throw it across the room or throw cookies at them, or, you know, they want to watch me and I'm the leader. I'm in control of all that stuff. I'm a fun leader. It's alphabet benevolent. Make sense? Any questions? I also do not ever let dogs believe that they get to say who's coming and going from our house. I do not let my dogs go around, you know, aggressing when someone knocks at the door, you know, roaring, barking, being aggressive towards people coming and going. That's very much a dominance issue. The house belongs to us. The house belongs to the humans. And we get to say who comes and goes from our house. You know, I would guess most dogs, and they're maybe not golden retrievers. Golden retrievers are always ready for company. A lot of collies are very friendly, but they can be guardy too. They can be, you know, and I've seen them be protective if they need to be. Catahoulas, maybe a little sharper. Akbash dogs certainly are a, you know, guardy kind of breed. We have a cattle dog in class. They can be kind of sharp. So I want them to understand that they can say, woof, woof, somebody's coming. They can let us know. It's, you know, one of the beauties of having dogs. We always know if someone's coming around, but then they need to be quiet and behave themselves when somebody comes in the house. When I or my husband, our kids are all grown, but when my husband or I let somebody in the house, they need to be good. I have young dogs all the time. I have old dogs and I have young dogs. I have everything from 4 months to 11 years old. With baby dogs, I keep collars and leashes by my door. So if they're just going hyperkinetic excited, a lot of Goldens, I've had a few collies. I have a big 75-pound male collie who thinks, we say he identifies as a Pomeranian. He thinks everybody should hold him, and he's this big, massive beast. And, you know, he's getting better, but he could hurt somebody, and he's big, and he's obedience trained. He knows not to do that to me, but he gets really excited if it's somebody new coming in our house in particular. And so if somebody's coming, I put a leash on him. I slip a leash on him and tell him to sit and behave himself. And he doesn't get to just go leaping and lunging at people. Dogs, training is building habits. I always say that, really. Training your dog is building new habits in your dog. If you've got a dog who has a habit of leaping all over everybody, then you need to put a leash on him. Tell everybody, please don't pet my dog until he's calm. I'll make him sit. You know, we'll work on that when we do sit stays on Thursday. We'll start that. And tell people, if he leaps up, please don't pet him. I've got a leash on him so I can prevent him from lunging all over everybody. A lot of folks don't think about a leash in the house. They don't think about using a leash in the house. Controlling your dog is your best friend. It really is. Just, they learn. If you control them in those situations all the time, they are literally learning how to behave when people come and go. Make sense? Calm, put yourself in control, and it's kind. It's kind and useful, and it's nice to people. It's nice to dogs, and it saves probably a lot of dogs' lives too, because a lot of dogs end up in the pound or given away because they don't behave themselves. You know, they just, people haven't trained them and become a leader and etc. Any questions on that? I think everybody's muted. It's okay. If you have any questions, unmute and ask it.
Okay. Well, I'm overwhelmed with bad dogs.
Uh-oh.
So, I mean, you know, okay, so they all sleep with me, and so I'll bring the crate in and put it, you know, in my bedroom for the puppy. The other
Good.
ones are fine. I don't have any problem with that. And
Absolutely.
the puppy's pretty good, but you know, it's scary to think about, you know, changing, you know, making a change. But you know, I live on 5 acres by myself. I'm very isolated, and the dogs are watchdogs. You know, two of them are Anatolians, and so, you know, I don't know how to not have
So
them.
are they okay when you have company or if they see somebody else? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they
themselves?
chill pretty fast, but you know, when somebody, like just now I had to put them away, because they're in the window and they see
Right.
little, like a deer or something like that. And then
Yeah.
they're like, "Rah," and barking. And so that's a huge thing when you have 3 dogs doing
Yes,
that.
yes. Yeah, I've been there. My dogs are all essentially house dogs. I don't let all 8 of them just run loose through my house all at once, but they take turns. I'll have 3 or 4 dogs in the house at any given time. Again, if they're lunging and leaping and carrying on, I'd say, you know what, that's enough, and I'll put them in a crate. I just want them to calm down.
Yeah, I have a place
I
to put
will,
them.
yeah, just, say that's enough of that. I've got a
Yeah.
couple of girls who get all excited when we have 5 acres as well, and we have Saint Bernard and a lab that love to fence fight. Well, my dogs love to fence fight with them too. I can complain about their dogs. I'm sure they complain about mine because they're all trolling the fence. But if those dogs come to the fence and they're in the house, I've got a couple of girls that just go, "Oh my God," they get all worked up. And I just calmly get up and say, "You're not going to behave like that in my house." Kennel. Done. And I have one is 2 years old. She's real high and silly. And she's figuring it out. She starts getting all twittery. She's kind of toned down to not shrieking and running. She's going from window to window, and even that gets her put in a crate because that's too much. I don't want her just racing around my house. She needs to, she can let us know the dogs are next door, but she needs to calm down. As far as watchdogs, I also appreciate, I think most of us who live with dogs appreciate having a dog. And that's a really good question, Bonnie, by the way, because a lot of people will say, well, if you're really strict about how they act when people come and go, how do you know they would protect you if something bad happened? I would always follow that with, it's kind of in their DNA. I want to be their leader. When I'm up and awake and around, I can handle things. If somebody, and I tell you, I have seen dogs so many times because to be real honest, I have no life beyond dogs. I show dogs when I go to work. I train dogs. I watch dog shows. I read dog things. All my Facebook and email are dog stuff. But I'm rarely driving around anywhere without dogs with me. I have seen times, you're unlikely to be truly accosted, broken into, approached on the street in an aggressive way when you're walking around with a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, would-be bad guys, no matter what their intentions are, will tend to choose a better subject than someone walking around with a dog, especially a big dog. As good of manners that I think my dogs have, if something is weird, I've seen them react. If somebody is behaving in a strange manner, dogs react. If somebody is sneaking around in the middle of the night, they're gonna react.
Mm-hmm.
Because dogs, they're very situational and they know what time things happen. They know what time things tend to happen. I have hundreds of stories, so I try to tone it down in these lecture classes, but just kind of on that, one night we were waiting, our daughter, who doesn't live here anymore, but she's a professional handler, and she was coming out to pick up one of the show dogs, and she's always late. My daughter is always running late. She was visiting a friend, and she was an hour or two later. Her dad, who usually goes to bed early, had stayed up to say hi to his daughter, to Laura. He hadn't seen her for a couple of weeks, and it got to be 8:30, 9:30. He's usually in bed by 9. So we're sitting here waiting. And of course, they know her. They love her. Most of them spend part of their life with her. They love her. But it's like 9:30 at night. We're sitting and watching TV. Everything's quiet. We live way out in the country. It's quiet here. And all of a sudden, the back door bursts open because our daughter does not knock on the door typically when she comes in. She knew we were expecting her. So all of a sudden, the back door just flies open, and the dogs in the house were like, "Rah!" They just went flying at the door. They never do that because people that we don't know knock, and they know how to behave, that we're going to take care of it. They went roaring to the door, and my daughter, stepped in the door and went, "Hey guys, it's me." And they went, "Oh, Laura, we love you." But you know, if that had been some stranger bursting in the back door, I don't think it would have been pretty. I think it would have been a really bad scene for someone trying to just burst in the door. They happen to know her. They've got good manners. They said, and they love her. I mean, they went, "Oh, Laura, it's okay. We love you." But, you know, probably they've never in their life seen somebody other than my husband or I just open the back door and come walking in at 9:30 at night. Does that make sense? I mean, they see things, um, and they recognize things, but I still at that point, you know, and with our daughter, I mean, she walked in and said, "Hey guys, it's me," and they went, "Oh," you know, if it had been somebody that was supposed to be there that just walked in and they were barking or carrying on, if I said, "Hey, knock it off," they would stop immediately. I'm often at the training center, certainly this time of year after dark and by myself and locking up. I have, you know, 3 or 4 big dogs with me. And typically we're the only business there at night. Um, Everybody else are kind of daytime businesses and they're all used to people coming and going. You know, they see when we get there during the day, you know, 3, 4 o'clock. But at night, if somebody happens to be around, once or twice I've seen like somebody in another business, I recognize their car. Maybe they're doing inventory, you know, whatever. I recognize them as the people that belong there. But the dogs, I think, I mean, they don't know them well. They just see them during certain times. It's just really kind of how time oriented and situational dogs are. And I've walked out of the training center and had someone just walk out of a business that's typically dark at night and quiet and had the dogs, you know, step in front or bark or hackles come up and a low growl. They're like, "Yeah, you don't belong there," because they believe they don't belong there. Does that make sense? I so count on my dogs to have really good sense about things like that. If there's somebody skulking around, you know, outside the training center at night, I have no doubt the dogs would let me know the minute I stepped out the door. I would then step back in the door, lock the door. I don't want someone hurt my dogs either. I'd step in, lock the door, and call the police. But the dogs will know. You know, dogs are wonderful like that. That's my whole point. And especially, you know, you got Akbash dogs. They're guardy dogs. They're not gonna probably, no matter how obedient they are and well socialized and well trained they are, if someone, you know, tries to come in the window in the middle of the night, they're going to deal with it because that's also who they are. You're not going to. I had a young lady once with a German Shepherd, young gal, and we were talking about this, and you know, I told her I never let my dogs just react aggressively, and she said, "Well, you know, I walk my dog after dark because I work during the day, and I want her to be a little bit protective, you know, because I'm alone walking my dog at night." And I told her to stop, and I said, "Okay, stop and just be quiet a minute and look at me and listen well." And she looked at me and I said, "You are walking around with a German Shepherd." And I just stopped and she stopped. She looked at me and she went, "Yeah." I said, "Who in their right mind is going to come tearing out of from behind a bush to try to grab you walking around with a German Shepherd? For the love of God, they will find somebody else. I'm just going to guarantee it." And no matter how well trained your dog is, she is going to be a German Shepherd if somebody comes aggressively at you. I can guarantee it just about. I've seen the sweetest collies react appropriately if something was weird. I've heard of golden retrievers react appropriately if something went crazily wrong. And Goldens are probably the sweetest and sunniest of all dogs. They just are. Right, Chuck? Goldens are pretty sunny and sweet. But I have heard of Goldens just all of a sudden and flipping that switch when the chips were really down. I've heard of Goldens going, "Wait a minute, I thought we were friends." Now I'm gonna have to be mean, right? They don't want to be, but they will be. So, you know, think of it kind of like that, because dogs that are allowed to be aggressive, and it kind of depends on your lifestyle too. You know, I mean, if nobody ever comes around and they never need to see another person, you know, junkyard dogs, their whole life and job is to guard the junkyard. They can be mean as heck. People would be stupid to climb over the fence at night when they're running loose protecting the junkyard. You know, I mean, if you're just totally by yourself, nobody ever comes, then, you know, it probably doesn't matter as much. But you know, in our world, we have people come around. It's quiet, or not a lot, but, you know, we have a daughter, we have a son and daughter-in-law with grandkids, I mean, we have people coming and going sometimes. And dogs that think it's okay to be aggressive can bite somebody. They can bite somebody. And that's going to be a lawsuit. If your dog ever, bites somebody inappropriately, that is truly going to be way worse than somebody getting in your house and robbing you blind. It is. You think about lawsuits, and you'd never get insurance again to cover your dog. You'd never get homeowners insurance again for a dog. I would rather think maybe, and I really highly doubt it. And I don't live with Akbash dogs or German Shepherds, but I highly doubt that somebody would be able to just stroll in our house and we're sleeping or not home and do something. I would rather think that might happen than that my dog might bite some kid jumping over the fence to get a baseball or I mean, people need to not go in, people all need to learn not to just jump in a fence with dogs, but I would way rather believe that people aren't going to get bitten inappropriately because a lawsuit will ruin your life. I mean, that would just ruin your life. It's never happened to me. I just know people that has happened to, and it's years and years and lawyers and courts, and oh my God, it's crazy. And the dog dies. I mean, they'll take the dog and put him down. They will kill the dog. My little puppies are being surprisingly quiet. I fed them right before this, so they probably have full tummies. So training wise, dogs live and learn in the moment. That does not mean they can't hang on to things or that they don't hang on to things. They learn stuff and remember it, and they will always do what they see as being in their best interest. I'm a big fan of positive training and positive teaching. I use a lot of treats in training. I do not, most people who know me consider me to be a very positive trainer, but I am not a pure positive trainer. I think it's kind of a nouveau training idea where we should never correct our dogs, where we should always, just cookie them when they're right and ignore them when they're wrong. And I think that's silly. And if it works at all, it could take forever and ever. I also don't think we should be beating up on dogs and yanking them around. We need to make it fun for them to learn. I want my dogs to look forward to learning and doing things with me. So we will cover how to add appropriate corrections if we need to during class and for what they're doing. I tell people, I read this somewhere and I really like it. You're dealing with a young dog. Don't ever let your young dog do anything that you don't look at and say, that is the coolest thing ever. I would love you to do that again. Don't ever make excuses. He's just a puppy. He'll grow out of that. If he's doing something you don't like, stop it now. Don't ever let him continue with the behavior you don't like. And again, if dogs are doing something I don't like, some of my favorite things around the house, and these can depend on the dog. I'm a big fan of squirt bottles set on stream. Set it on a sharp stream. I don't know if you can see that or not, but if they're barking inappropriately, or I use it a lot for barking. If they're barking when they shouldn't be, leaping on you, chewing on things. A puppy, if you have a squirt bottle sitting around, your puppy comes in and starts chewing on the chair leg, I'll pick up the squirt bottle and squirt him in the face. And I don't yell. I just let water hit you in the face. If I put them in a crate and they're carrying on, another reason I like it in the bedroom, I'll just pick up squirt bottle and squirt them in the face. Sharp stream, not a mist, not a gentle mist. Sharp stream of water, and it startle them. It's a startle effect. They go, whoa, and I go, oh, good, quiet, very good dog. And I'm the good guy. This water, what the heck do you know, puppy? Water just hits you upside the head when you bark inappropriately, or if you chew on a shoe, or if you, pick your poison. But squirt bottles work really well. If a squirt bottle doesn't work, and even with a retriever, because they are kind of water dogs, they don't all hate water. Some of them go, oh, that was really cool. I've had a couple collies do that too. They're like, oh, I could drink that. Open my mouth. But it's the startle effect more than it is, whether they love water or not. So it's worth a try first. I have other ideas. If the water, if a squirt of water doesn't work, let me know. I'll see you guys on Thursday. So you have a day or two to try. If that doesn't work, let me know. If you're going through something and you just need to stop them quick. Any negative just needs to be, sorry, any negative just needs to be sufficiently negative to stop the behavior, and then always move them to what they could do to be successful. So, chewing on things, chewing on you, chewing on, the carpet. You're sitting watching TV and they're, start chewing on your chair. I'm going to squirt them. You might try just going, hey, loud and scary, but don't yell, just or hey, something startling. Make them stop. The minute they do, we have a toy box in our house, and I'll get up out of my chair and say, let's go find your toys, puppy. And I call them with me to the toy box and show them where the toys are. And pretty soon you'll see puppies. They'll come in, look at, whatever it is they like to chew on, and they'll look at you and go, oh, I'm going to go get my toy. And when they make those brilliant decisions, I will get up and play tug or fetch. I'll interact and play with them. What a great idea, puppy. What a wonderful guy. If you need to, I said it a moment ago, loud, scary, if we say no, it's kind of like that can come out of our mouths anywhere from kind of a sing-songy sound. No, 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 no. We can babble it at them, or we can go, no, depending on the infraction. However, if you just go, that usually startles your dog, just a loud, sharp, that's enough. As soon as they stop what they were doing, I don't care how mad you are, what it might be, the minute they stop, you've got to flip to what a good dog. Or let's go do something right. Sit. Or let's go find your toys. Look at that. What a good dog. Here's your ball. Here's your chewies. Have them in a certain place. I had one student one time, they had a golden retriever, and they said, this dog's eating the house. He chews on everything. And I said that, and they said, oh, this dog's got toys all over, spread all over the floor. And I said, well, then he's not able to make a decision about what to go for, because it's all together. Shoes, toys, carpet, furniture, it's all right there. Where if the toys are in a certain place, I walk through the house and pick up toys about 20 times a day. I just pick up toys and put them in the box, because there is a place for them to go look for their toys. There's a place to go look. It's a specific place, and they learn that. It's very picture oriented. If a dog is being really bad in the house, naughty, running around, being crazy, keep them on a leash with you. Little puppy helper, I'll just attach them by way of leash to me. If they're being irresponsible with eliminating or chewing on everything or swallowing stuff, if I can't literally just sit and watch the dog, I hook them by way of leash to me. And, if they've been in a crate for a few hours and they're being naughty and they need to be out with me, they need to not be in a crate all the time, I hook them by way of leash to me, little puppy helper. They can, hang out with me while I'm making dinner and, doing dishes or whatever. They're just on a leash, or sitting and watching a TV show or reading a book. They can come. My 4-month-old puppy, Bonnie, you said your puppy had an accident. He all of a sudden started having some pee. He was just going, oh, okay. He had been good for a week or two, and then all of a sudden he just went, I gotta pee, and he just started peeing on the rug. And so he wore a leash for about a week. He was just with me on a leash. He was never running loose. When I was watching a TV show, he'd be sitting with me on a leash. I was reading a book, he's just sitting working on the computer. He's right there with me on a leash, because they don't want to pee on your shoes. So he's either in a crate or on a leash in the house or outside. And now, after about a week, he's fine. He goes outside. He's figured it out again. If he reverts back, he'll go back on a leash until he remembers. They're just babies. They're baby brains. Again, a lot of it is just putting yourself in control. It's your house, your life. You bring the dog in. We love our dogs, right? I don't want to sound like, we're drill sergeants around the house. We are not at all. I talk to them and hug them and kiss them and tell them how adorable they are every single day, many times a day. But when I'm working with something, they need to understand, you have a pretty cushy life here, dog. These are the rules, and they will remain the rules. You got rules, and that makes for a much nicer dog. Are there any specific behaviors just around the house that you need an answer to? Everybody doing okay? Okay, William?
Shelley, I'm going to have to leave the Zoom call, but I'll see you on Thursday, okay?
Oh, okay. I'm going to
Can I
talk about
ask a
how-
question? What kind of
Yeah.
equipment do we need to bring next
Do
Thursday?
you have a minute, Chuck?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You have a minute or you have to leave? Okay, so
I'll
I'm
wait.
going to pull out a dog and I'll show you equipment and then I'll let everybody go. I understand if you have to leave, but let me get the puppy.
I
out.
did that for you, Chuck.
That's right. That's right. So I am a fan of training collars. Some call it a choke collar. I call it a training collar. There are different kinds. I will have some with me in case. I've got some loaners. If you've got a really soft, sensitive dog, and sometimes I'll start puppies on. This is a martingale collar. I put shoelaces on them because when I'm working on
I'm
off leash or
unmuted.
beat, I can grab the shoelace.
He's got a
But-
martingale and she believes in chokers.
What's that? What'd you say, Chuck?
I was talking to my wife. I'm sorry.
I'm kind of open to equipment. Harnesses do not work. They come from the wrong part of the dog, and they can be very damaging to their shoulders and elbows and all kinds of stuff.
Do we
So
need
I
to
think-
bring treats and a
Yeah.
treat bag?
Yes, treats you can put in your pocket. This is a martingale collar. It just snaps on. It gives a little bit of a correction here. All right.
Shelley,
not
can I
aware-
just confirm, is it this Thursday, 2 days
This-
from now, or a week from Thursday?
This Thursday, 6:30.
This
Ah.
Thursday.
Wow,
This
cool.
So I like a 4 to 6 foot leash. I'm sorry, a 3 or 4 foot leash. I am not
Okay.
a fan of long 6 foot leads. I think they get cumbersome. I think they get in the way. Buckle collars, a lot of people say, oh, we should, it's kind of from that pure positive thing. But if a dog is pulling on a buckle collar, every ounce of pressure is right on their trachea. So I think it's a very damaging collar if the dog is pulling. I'm going to show you right now how to work on a couple things. We're never going to be choking dogs. That's why I call it a training collar versus a choke collar. It is a training collar. Let me grab a puppy. So I'm going to put a training collar on him. Hopefully this will fit. I'm going as quick as I can, guys. Let me grab this puppy. Oh, I brought this cheese, string cheese, hot dogs. I slice and microwave hot dogs. I will have them with me. Make wonderful training treats.
Okay.
At home, kibble, dog treats may work well, but when you go somewhere new and you're increasing the level of excitement a great deal, ante in the cookie department. Make it even better. Sometimes people say, oh, I never give him people food. So I don't want him to beg. Begging does not come from ever just laying their lips on people food. Begging comes from people who feed begging dogs. Begging comes from dogs sitting at the table and having someone slipping them food. It's not like they happen to have had a hot dog in training yesterday. It's because, they're sitting at the table and you're flicking up pieces of hamburger. I never feed dogs from the dining room table. Here, guys. Here, pup. Let me just grab this puppy. I know I'm out of view for a minute. Okay. Oh, this is a nice fitting collar on him too. Let me see if I can get him. Figure out this camera. I probably need a better computer. I bought this camera. It's got the finest little stand, and it falls down a lot. Okay, this is Quest, and so this collar, you can see him. I just slipped this chain collar over his head, and he's just 4 months old. And I have a wide assortment of collars in my world, go figure. But a perfectly fitted collar should sit right up under his chin and behind his ears, coming off. I almost want to take one ear out at a time. I don't want to, if it slides right off, if it's too big, it's going to slide right down to the bottom of his neck, and you're fighting the strongest part of the dog's body. All right. What kind of collars are you guys using now? I
Oh,
can't.
us? You're asking us?
What have you been using for collars?
Just a collar. I'm not doing anything. My dogs are untrained.
Okay. Okay. So
But I have a
Martingale.
I have a martingale. I have the training collars. I have all that stuff, But
and then you throw a couple of them that you think fit him in the car, just have him with you, because we can experiment and see what he needs.
okay.
I'm a little bit open, but harnesses and shock collars, those things, I think shock collars, it's a whole nother story, and harnesses just don't work at all. They're built so a dog can pull from the strongest part of his body. So so that's a good collar for this puppy. I first want to teach my dog, I'm going to put a good training collar on him, and I have an adult dog in here too, but the puppy may be the most useful for showing because he doesn't know a whole lot. Some things, but not a ton. I'm just trying to keep watching so you make sure you guys can still see the puppy. And I may, come here, Ellie. Ellie's, she's an obedience dog, and when I start working with him, I know she's going to try to get involved because they always think they're better than the puppy.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I want to teach my dog, I teach him a couple things, but I want you, I'm going to move my puppy so you can see him. There you go. I think that's a little better.
Oh.
We're teaching English as a second language. And so I want to give a command one time and help the puppy to do it. I also want to get them sitting. I want to teach sit at my left side rather than in front of me all the time. It's going to be, come here. Good boy. Quest stand. Good. I'm going to put my hand in the collar. Stop. And I'm going to say it one time. Sit. Good boy. Good puppy. I'm just going to say it. Reach back. Tuck his tail. I've got one hand in his collar. Doesn't mean you can have a buckle collar. It doesn't matter what kind of collar for this. Just hand in the collar. Walk forward. Get him at your left side. Say it once and tuck. Good boy. Then I'll give him a cookie for that. I don't tend to teach sit by using a cookie. We put it on their nose and rock them back. I teach them. Good. Good. Sit. Get rid of the cookie. Sit. Good. I one hand the collar. I just say it once. Reach back. Tuck his tail. And I'll say good boy and feet. I want you to, and you spend a couple days now, just holding him in place, saying, what a good dog. I want you to introduce a release word, or a word that means they can move now. You can hold them in place. If you've been saying stay, just stop for a couple of days. We're going to start on Thursday. So just hold them in place. Say, you are a good dog. Very nice. Ready. Free. I say free, meaning they can get up. It's a release word. A lot of my students use free. You can use release, all done. That'll do. Break. I've heard break. Again, just pick a word and stick with it. And that word means that the dog can get up now, that they're done working. I never let a dog get up when I say good dog. And I will pick on people endlessly for that. Come here, Questy. Sit. Good, sit. Because I want to use good dog for praise. Good boy, very nice, good. And this puppy is just learning this. Good boy. But he does not, good boy. Yeah, good boy. And I'm helping him because he doesn't really understand yet. Very nice, good. But the only thing that I'm going to let him get up when I say free. Only free means you can get up.
Okay.
I'm going to teach that from earliest babyhood. I want them to understand because they learn, how long do I have to stay? I have to stay till you say free. So the other thing I want you guys to maybe experiment with for the next day or two, get a collar and leash on them. I want you to practice getting the leash really loose. I put it in my hand and I loosen up. I put a delicious cookie on their nose and I just teach them to walk on a loose leash.
Oh.
I don't ever let my dog be on a tight, get back. You know, they're young and learning. I just keep my leash loose, cookie on the nose, and spend some time showing them where I want them. Puppy. Good. Okay. I will give a correction for pulling pretty shortly, but I don't think it's fair to go around correcting dogs if they don't understand what it is you're asking them to do. And we so often put a collar and leash on a dog, we tighten up and say, okay, we're going for a walk, and the dog just starts pulling you. You guys got some big, strong dogs. If you keep it loose all the time, show them what you want with a treat, just keep it loose, cookie in your left hand, because we want them at our left side. We got to do that for class. That is traditional. And so in class, we got to have a side. Left is traditional. It's where dogs heel. And this is not heel, by the way. I just say, let's go. Let's go. Puppy. Very nice. Good. Yeah, and this, we've had this puppy here. I got him from another breeder, but I've had him here since he was 9 weeks old. And he just learned to walk with a cookie on his nose. And now at 4 months old, if I say, Questy, let's go. Come on. Hey, buddy, let's go. Let's go. Hey, let's go. Good boy. Right? Just mostly from that, from learning to walk like that, he doesn't need a lot of correction for walking. He doesn't need, because he's not pulling me. He's never learned to pull me. So if he does decide he wants to go for something, it's going to be just a little pop on his leash and go, oh, yeah, it's uncomfortable. I better not do that. I'm supposed to be here. So just spend some time, delicious cookie, cheese, hot dog, try it with something wonderful. Get the leash loose, put the leash in your right hand, cookie in your left, and just show them where you want them to be. Do it where it's nice and calm, because it'll be easier at your house than it will be in the training center when all the other dogs come in. Does that make sense?
I like this Zoom stuff.
The what?
I like this Zoom stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
Well, Shelley, I've got to go, so I will see you Thursday.
That's it. But now we got
Bye, Chuck.
Bye.
Hi, Chuck. Collars and leashes, cookies. Sit on the first command, release word, and just play with them on walking on a loose leash. Just loose leash, your job, show them what you want. We can't expect our dogs, you're a good boy, no doubt. We can't expect our dogs to understand what we want just because we're running around yelling words at them or fighting with them. We've got to show them what we want. Again, it's building habits. It's building habits. And if you build good ones, that's what they will do.
Shelley, I'm going to have to go too, but I just have a quick question for you.
Any questions, and we'll be done.
Now, is it all right if my daughter comes? Is there room for her to watch?
Yeah, I think we will be fine. You know, there's room to spread out. We can, and we do have mask rules. I always say, and I'll ask the class, we can spread out, wear mask in. Sometimes when I'm in the middle of the room, I'll pull down my mask because it's easier to hear me. I make sure that's okay with everybody, because if anyone's worried about that, I'll leave it on. If I have to come closer and help you with your dog, my mask goes absolutely on.
And you're going to send us the slip that we fill out. You're going to send us a link down
forms and a couple of just reading material sheets. And a lot of this is covered in that dog lecture notes I sent you before this.
Right, but I mean, whatever we have to sign and the cost of the class and all that.
Yeah, it's 180 for the 8 weeks.
Okay.
Cash or checks are easier. I can do credit cards, but cash or checks are easier. All right.
Okay.
And I will email directions and the address too.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, Julia.
Hi.
Bye, Julia. Tomorrow.
Okay, see you guys Thursday at 6:30 this Thursday.
Oh,
Yep.
6:30. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
Bobby and Will, any questions?
Nope.
Will looks like he's thinking.
William, you're muted. Okay, there you go.
There you go. You're still muted. I can't hear you, William. We're not hearing you.
Now?
Yep,
There you go.
there you go.
Okay, turn the speaker on. It's not a chewing thing. He doesn't chew on anything really. He pulls things off of counters. He drags things out of the trash can, and that's it. He
Oh my
carries
God, I
things
can't relate.
everywhere.
You know what I do? I would get mouse traps. How old is he?
He's 2 years now.
Okay,
Mm.
get mouse traps. Go to Walgreens or Walmart or
Wow.
something. Yep, they're
Ah.
cheap. Just a little mouse traps. They are not, they're, you know, I always tell students they're intended to kill a creature that weighs less than half an ounce. They're not going to hurt a dog, you know, as big as you guys have done. I would tell someone
Love
with
that.
a min pin or a chihuahua to be careful, but you know, these dogs with great big honking feet, a mouse trap is not going to hurt them. And I set them up. I keep them confined so they can't just be doing that when I'm not watching them. And you know, I'll set mouse traps along the countertops. We're going to go get him. This puppy is about big enough to start thinking about putting his feet on the counters. You know, I think they hit about 4 months old. These medium to large dogs are like, "Oh, what's that?" And they encounter mouse traps on my counter. And we just stand back.
God, why
and
didn't I ever think of that? That's
right.
great.
And it removes you from the
Yes.
correction. It removes you from the correction. And I'll even put, you know, like a little piece of cheese or something behind it. And we just, you know, set them, let the dog outside, come back in, and we'll just kind of stand off to the side and watch. And they'll go, do, 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 oh, it smells good. Bam, 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 bam. And they'll go like, ah, and they run. The trash cans, especially like bathroom trash cans, you know, they like to go and pull things out of the bathroom trash. Just put mouse traps on top of it. Our dogs usually, for a while, think that Godzilla lives in our bathroom and could get him any minute. Now it's just my husband and I, so we're good at shutting doors too. We're big on shutting doors, you know, so they just can't go or they don't need to be. The kitchen trash, it will work in like a kitchen trash can to basically keep them away from the trash, but why it's twisting like that.
I'm going to buy stock in mouse traps. I'm going to buy
Yeah.
a bunch of them.
He's getting tangled in my cord here. You got to set them up a couple of times if they've been successful. You have to do it a couple times. They don't always believe at first that really happened. It may be just a freak thing, and I'll try again. So do it a few times with an adult dog that has encountered them. Kitchen trash. I finally invested in a nice can, you know, a $50, $60 trash can with a flush lid and electronics and stuff. And they really don't pay much attention to it. But we used to have a plastic trash can, and we don't have a closet or cupboard that we can lock it in. And they learn to flip up the lid pretty quick. You know, they flip up the lid. So the good trash can has kind of solved a lot of problems. But even with that, and I will, with a young dog, I'll put mouse traps in the kitchen trash. And I say that because, you know, often there's food kinds of things, attractive things, cans, food, bag, you know, wrappers from hamburger or brats or whatever. I'll set mouse traps in them just so they encounter it. You know, they go, oh, that really smells good. Bam, 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 but it bites. So I'm not doing that. I think the better part of valor and living with dogs big enough to get into the trash can is if we have something that we're going to throw away that's extremely interesting to the dogs, we take it out. We just don't even put it in the trash can.
Right.
I always tell students, we don't like massive vet bills or diarrhea in the middle of the night enough to risk that they're well enough trained to, you know, not eat corn cob. You know, more vets say you are not could make a living off of dogs that eat corn cobs in the summer during corn cob season because they don't break up and they impact in their intestines in the blink of an eye. Once we learned that, my daughter and her husband have collies and they have Chesapeake Bay Retrievers, and one of the Chessies ate a corn cob, possibly when he was playing fetch or something out in the field, and they call it their $3,000 corn cob. It was on a weekend. He ended up at Fort Collins, surgery. Oh yeah. So we just keep things like that up. You know, we have, you know, a trash place outside that they have just absolutely no access to. And so, you know, we have stuff that's going out that the dogs might love. We just put it in a bag and we take it out to the bin outside, you know, the dumpster thing. Right. You know, I just really think that when we're going to live with big dogs, it's so attractive. You know, you can teach them all day long to stay out of the trash, but you know, if you put pork bones and chicken bones and, you know, a bunch of fat from turkey or something in the trash, you know, they may get bitten once or twice. And at some point they may go back and go, oh man, that just smells so good. And now it doesn't bite them and they're going to eat it and be sick and, you know, have all kinds of problems. So, you know, there are some concessions we have to make when we're going to live with and love these intelligent creatures that live in our house. They are very clever when you think about it. Okay.
Smart.
You can put mouse traps on furniture you don't want them on. Mouse traps work well. They work well. And we just laugh and say, oh, it gets you, poor puppy. Again, we're not angry. We're not yelling. We're not frustrated. And indeed, it is kind of funny. So it's easy to laugh at them. They're so startled. All right.
Shelley, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sorry it went on a little bit, but
No, it's
we will
good.
see you guys Thursday night.
All right.
Little camera.
Hi,
keeps falling.
William.
Bye.
I will. We'll see you
See you
guys
all Thursday.
Okay,
Bye.
leave. There we go.
There we go.